up guys, welcome back. As some of you may know, I am a big RPG buff. Simply put, my favorite video game genre of all time. And among them, I really like tactical RPGs or TRPGs. I mean, you're looking at a guy who bought the first two Japan exclusive Fire Emblem games on the Famicom, complete in box and all that, just because I love this series so much and the genre as a whole. And no, I don't speak a single word of Japanese. Now in today's video, I want to go in depth in one such video game series, being the Mercenaries games. 6 games in total have been designed and released thus far, split up in 2 trilogies. The first trilogy being among the very first tactical RPGs available on Nintendo Switch when it was first launched. And the second trilogy has just seen its completion with the 6th entry in this series, Mercenaries Rebirth, on both Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, the PSN network. So today's video we're going to cover the entire series. Don't worry guys, I got you back. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The story of the Mercenaries games is one of constant progress, not quite reinventing the wheel, but constantly pushing the boundaries with each new release. The original Mercenaries Saga Chronicles, the first trilogy, was originally released on the Nintendo DS with all of its technical limitations, while the remaining 3 titles were natively developed for home consoles, something which has resulted in drastic upgrades to gameplay, music, and aesthetics. The first 5 of these games are now available as a single package on Nintendo Switch, as well as being available as individual pickups. A thing to note here is that none of these games are connected through storylines, much like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy games. You can pick up and play any of them in any order you'd like without missing out on any information. But playing them sequentially does make you appreciate all of the improvements from one game to the next. The Mercenary Saga Chronicles lays the foundation for the series as a whole. It's made up of the initial 3 games: Mercenary Saga 1, Will of the White Lions, Mercenary Saga 2, Order of the Silver Eagle, and Mercenary Saga 3, Grey Wolves of War, all of which, although graphically somewhat outdated at this point in time, are great RPGs to sink your teeth in for a grand total of about 70 odd hours. In essence, these games are all turn-based, storied, tactical RPGs in which you'll move from one battle to the next, alternated with pixelated cutscenes and basic character portraits for story progression. The battles are presented in a familiar, fixed isometric overhead view. Nothing to write home about, yet one of the strongest aspects of these games is the battle system and the way the maps play an important role to strategizing. It's a full-fledged 3-dimensional battle system in which wisely choosing your position relative to your opponent is essential in gaining the upper hand in battle. Attacks from the side are more effective than frontal attacks, and attacks from the back are even more powerful. Furthermore, having an elevational advantage boosts your chances of winning even more. It is a nice mix of physical and magical attacks ranged and in melee fashion, while at the same time you'll be struggling to unlock all of the visible treasure chests and try to unearth all of the buried artifacts. Everything is organized around the main menu, through which you can continue the story, access character statistics, customize their gear layout, buy and sell wares at the shop, go into free battles to grind if necessary, save, load, and access gameplay options. These games employ a simple but effective equipment system, along with compatibility overview and preview as to the impact of different weapons. There are 2 rather interesting yet poorly executed special weapon systems, one of which involves collecting puzzle pieces with which you can buy the highest tier weapons, some of which are required to unlock the highest exclusive character classes, so-called class change items. And the other one is this synthesis system, which allows for combinations of weapons to enhance stats which looks really nice in theory, but is one of the most underwhelming and cumbersome elements at play. Speaking of character classes, this is another highlight of this series, as it is a 3-tier upgradable system based on the level of your character, something quite common. Yet there is a unique feature in that even after switching to other classes, you can still use and hone skills from any of the other already acquired classes, which allows for extremely diverse skill sets which you can keep upgrading as you progress through the games. Out of these three, I find that only the first game in the trilogy feels somewhat unbalanced, forcing the player to grind, and I mean really grind, in the free battles in order to succeed in later missions, whilst the other two, Mercenary Saga 2 and 3, are paced out nicely, albeit being a little dragged out in terms of story progression. The second trilogy of the Mercenaries games sees some major improvements, the most obvious one being the graphics, but also in terms of gameplay elements. Released in sequential order, we see Mercenaries Wings, the False Phoenix, Mercenaries Blaze, Dawn of the Twin Dragons, and the late 2021 release Mercenaries Rebirth, Call of the Wild Lynx, the latter of which is my personal favorite thus far, for reasons we'll get into in just a moment. This second trilogy, which saw its final entry just recently, has been fully developed for home consoles, something which is translated nicely in terms of its visuals. Graphically, it has seen much improvement, and although the fourth entry, Mercenaries Wings, feels somewhat middle of the road in terms of significant new features in comparison to the former entries in the series, it does introduce a new key element in the form of leadership skills. This involves the way in which you start your battles, allowing you to select a leader who gives a character-specific boost to the entire party. This adds a nice new layer to the tactical side of things. While the artwork of the character portraits in this game is one of my favorite in the series, its sequel, Mercenaries Blaze, is by far the better game, as it breaks with the former 4 games in more than one way. Mercenaries Blaze is a much darker game, touching upon more socially sensitive topics instead of the more run-of-the-mill medieval storytelling in previous games. It also fundamentally changes the way you look at the battle screen by employing a rotatable 3D isometric overhead camera, revealing or hiding secret treasure and more. At the start of a battle, the camera rotates a full 360, allowing for some initial strategizing before digging in deep. Not only does this add to the tactical aspects of the game, it flat out looks much better than ever before, with more crisp textures, added details, higher resolution, more stable frame rate, and overall just more pizzazz. Even the options menu has been drastically expanded upon, allowing for stuff like the auto battle option, enabling grid tile overlay for effective calculation of movements, speeding up of enemy movement, skipping skill effects, and more. In terms of actual gameplay, I am happy to see a return of the leadership skills, and to my delight, a new element is introduced in the form of Blaze Exceed skills, character-specific special attacks, healing powers, and stuff like that, all of which can greatly influence the flow of battle, complete with character animations. But it doesn't end there, as Mercenaries Blaze offers varied story decisions which you'd have to make, which determines not only the final outcome of the game, but also the members of your party on your next path, and much more. Even the main menu has been much improved upon, combining the storied and free battles neatly and even previewing the spoils of war in said free battles. There are added character expressions which you can cycle through, along with useful detailed overviews of their stats, gears and skills. It really feels like developer Ridian has stepped up their game with Mercenaries Blaze, something which made me genuinely excited for the next entry, and so far the final game in the series, Mercenaries Rebirth. Even though I honestly appreciate each and every entry in this series and have played all of them with a genuine sense of accomplishment as I finished all of the stories, if you'd have to choose just one game out of these 6 to play, it should definitely be Mercenaries Rebirth. It takes everything that makes Mercenaries Blaze such a delight to play through, all of the improvements, and manages to further the graphical output by making use of much more detailed pixel animations, something which makes the battles that much more worthwhile. The stage overviews at the start of each battle show clever design of the battlefields with more intriguing maps and much more detail than we have ever seen in the series thus far. Thankfully, we see all of the same battle mechanics which make these games tick, and instead of the Blaze Exceed skills, we see Rebirth Exceed skills, which in truth is not much more than a name change, once again sprinkled with some neat character animations. The leadership skills make a triumphant return, and all of the bits and bobs pertaining to the menu overhaul and extended options are here as well. Add to that the single best OST the series has seen so far, a fresh new story, characters and forking paths, and you're set for another 30 hours of tactical role-playing game goodness. Lastly, I just want to add a few things, a few remarks in regards to where the story goes from here for developer Ridian and publisher Circle Entertainment, the latter of which was kind enough to send over all of these games for the purpose of this overview. Thank you kindly. As we have seen just now, the series has seen major improvements over the years, from the initial trilogy to the start of the second set of 3 games, and more drastically from the 4th to the 5th game, and finally more refinements with the last entry. As budget-friendly tactical RPG games, I feel that these are fantastic options out there to allow for 20 to 30 hours per game, and significantly more so if you so choose to play Game Plus mode in the Maniac difficulty setting, which gets unlocked after you complete the story in normal or hard mode. The question really should be if the developer wants to continue developing titles in this price range, or wants to risk stepping up production costs and thus retail price point. Something I feel the series would really benefit from is voice acting, allowing for more personality to the characters and the series as a whole. One can also think about more detailed cutscenes than we have seen till now. What about other options though, such as turning back the Wheel of Time, like Fire Emblem's 3 Houses, Divine Pulse. Perhaps introduce a three-dimensional home base from which you can access the item store and upgrade your gear instead of a textual overlay in the form of a main menu. I think there's enough room for improvement, all of which will come at a cost, one way or another. And I'm curious to see what the talented team will come up with next. And on that note, guys, I am signing off for today. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed today's video and that you would like to share your 5 cents on it so that we may discuss further in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button as it greatly helps out in these search results. Subscribe to the channel to see more content just like this on a regular basis, and I will see you next time.